What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today when I talk to you about Palantir. It's been a while since I've done a Palantir video, so I want to go over some of the data points, what's really been impacting it, and where I see things going from here. Before we get into any of that, make sure you hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Palantir went down 1.9% on Friday, largely just piggybacking off the broader market. In fact, over the last 5 days though, it is down 4.35%. So some consolidation, and in my opinion, the reason why that did occur is because of people's appetite for risk. So the market and institutions have been favoring more riskier assets this last week. So Palantir has been getting somewhat lower volume. Nothing really wrong with that. I think some consolidation is rather normal for any stock. So Palantir is still an absolute beast, and there's a lot of good opportunity for it to really move higher this upcoming week. But there hasn't really been all that much coming from the company itself that you need to stop what you're doing and buy Palantir. But potentially with the Middle East and that whole conflict really escalating, that is another opportunity for Palantir, similar to what happened between Ukraine and Russia. So big things are coming for Palantir, bigger picture. It's just a matter of time. Looking forward to this upcoming week though, could be another good catalyst for the broader market to push it higher. So starting off, you do have on the Thursday GDP, and then on Friday PCE. You have Powell on the Tuesday and Wednesday. Aside from that, you can pretty much, this whole week can be summarized as Fed week, because there is a huge amount almost every single day of Fed speakers. So even on Monday, you have Waller, Goolsbee, Kugler. You have a lot of big names throughout the whole week. And I'll throw this up here. Do with this information what you will. Of course, the higher the number, the more positively impactful they are. And so historically, this does go to show once or post a Fed speaker, this is how the market does react. So you do have Waller being the most bearish of them all. And then you have this individual right here, Messler, being the most optimistic. So again, do with this information what you will, because this is Fed week, if you want to consider it that way. These are all the companies unveiling their earnings this upcoming week. The only one that could potentially impact the market would be, in my opinion, Micron, and that is on Wednesday after hours. Aside from that, you do have shorts. So I always like to bring up shorts, not because these stocks I kind of talk on are squeeze plays, but it's good to analyze what individuals are doing, because those individuals that are shorting are betting against the company. So for instance, on Friday, they did increase 268,000 shares, which is a drop in the bucket. But generally, even though it's been lagging this last week due to consolidation and just people preferring riskier assets, shorts have not doubled down. If anything, they did return even more. So 1.97% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 42.9 million shares. So Palantir honestly is a kind of perfect storm scenario, because even though it gets somewhat less volume and whatever else, and even though they're not really putting out that much news, a lot of analysts think that it's just overvalued. Shorts are scared shitless, pardon my French, that they do not even want to risk doubling down. So Palantir, like I said, is like a perfect storm. It is a absolute beast. A lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about it, more linked to the valuation, but nobody's really willing to put their money where their mouth is and short it, because every single time that has happened, shorts end up losing a ton of money. And if anything, every time shorts do double down, adds a new leg up to the stock price. But looking at the options, you do see a consensus for this upcoming week for it to be between that roughly 43 to 49. You can kind of see just based on the OI change as well that it kind of matches that. So anticipate potentially 143 to 149 this upcoming week. So a lot of volatility, and even looking at the fib levels, very wide gaps. So this is ultimately why you are seeing kind of that range. But with it at 137 currently, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 139, 143, and then 149 is going to be the next strong target slash resistance. And again, based on the options, bigger money is anticipating for it to be between that R3 and this R2. So yeah, that would be a pretty good return just in essentially 1 week. But I think the moral of the story is that Palantir is a huge beast. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. When it comes down to analyst ratings, so we recently did get a new high rating of $155, outdoing both Daniel Ives and Mariana with Bank of America. So 155 buy rating by Loop. Mark has a 59% success rating. So it is kind of interesting. Before it was just Daniel Ives solely just as the Palantir bull, and then you did have Bank of America join the group, and so they kind of were going tit for tat. One would raise their rating, the other one would kind of up it. So it's kind of comical on how that is, but it looks like Loop wants to get part of the action, so they do have the new highest rating for Palantir. And one interesting note is that you are seeing more and more bullish ratings. So you are seeing triple digit now pretty much being the standard, with the exception of Northland, Michael, who has a 45% success rating. But given that rating, you might as well just work at like Burger King or something like that. But nonetheless, a lot of good upside. One thing to take note of though is, as a consensus over the last 3 months, $104.27, and that does represent a 24% downside. So still you do see some analysts that are dragging it down. That is this one right here by RBC, $40 sell. Then Jefferies, Deutsche, both with $60 and $80 sells. So at the end of the day, clearly analysts are still somewhat hesitant about it, but you're seeing more and more analysts just be very bullish. And even looking on the chart itself, there's not really much negatives to really bring up aside from stochastic RSI. So that is considered very overbought. So the first sign of weakness, you could see some volatility or consolidation similar to what happened last week. But even if, like I mentioned, with some escalation coming from the Middle East, it might really negatively impact the market. But in Palantir's case, it's a unique circumstance that it can actually benefit. Those investors that have kind of long-term mentality will be able to see that potential, but short-term, I think analysts and individuals just really focus on these multiples and just say it is way too high. So the forward PE 235, that's what it's sitting at right now. And honestly, yeah, for face value, that is considered overdone, but still, I think Palantir is a very innovative company. A lot of companies, in fact, in the market are innovative, have these higher multiples. So I think it's just times are changing. So let me know your thoughts on Palantir. Do you think that it will get to that 143 to 149? Or what's your general kind of thoughts on Palantir? So throw your price predictions in the comments below. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon and give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.